Well, after a brief hiatus, Round 3 Video Game Reviews returns with a vengeance. There has been no video game that we have yet played that simultaneously brings back so many memories of our childhood and fills us with such contempt as Monster Party. Once again, forgive the guerrilla-style filming, this is going to be the last NES game we do until we find an NES emulator with a decent video converter. Monster Party looks pretty inviting. The title screen boasts a cast of pretty awesome-looking monsters. So you start up a new game and, oh my god. This is the longest NES intro I've ever seen. Now, remember how good NES games start? Like Mario, Zelda, Metroid? You just start playing. You still need backstory? That's what the manual's for. Even skipping the text still takes forever. And the story isn't even that good. It's about some kid walking home at night and some monster telling him to come save a planet filled with monsters. And you know what ticks me off? The kid totally agrees. As if an 8-year-old wouldn't wet their pants at the sight of a real monster, much less agree to go slay a few hordes of them. When you finally get to play, something like, I kid you not, 8 minutes into turning on the NES cartridge, you're greeted with an astonishingly wholesome environment. I mean, what the hell is this? This is supposed to be a planet of monsters, not Kirby. The platforming is subpar. I mean, you can jump and land where you want, so it's already a hell of a lot better than Incantation or Bubsy. But this is weird stiff feel to it. If Incantation's controls were too loose, then this is the opposite end of the spectrum. Basically, you have two attack options. Either beat them up with your bat, or hit their projectiles back to them. And once in a while, you turn into this dragon that can shoot fireballs, which is honestly a hindrance, since the fireballs only go about 5 feet in front of you and then stop. And you can't block projectiles. Oh, and yeah, you can fly. But that's only really useful in a couple of levels, especially since 2 of them are frickin' corridors. About halfway through the first level, the game remembers it's supposed to be scary and has a frickin' seizure. This is honestly the best part of the game right here. The weeping blood, the skulls, the intensity and morbidness. It's actually really awesome. I mean, this is what I was talking about. The game showed some balls and said, let's be scary. Now, it's pretty tame by today's standards, but you have to imagine being like 6 or 7, and only using bright, colorful games as examples like Mario or Zelda. This is a very different feel to it. I gotta say, it's actually really impressive. Now, no terrible game is complete without some pointless and confusing frickin' objectives. You know, you've got a level progression system here, but that's not the objective. It's not to get to the end of the level. That'd be too simple. No, what you have to do is go into these doors and find and kill all the boss monsters in a level. There are as many as 3 in a stage, and the numbers actually dwindle as you go through it. Almost as if the designers were running out of ideas. Now, some of the rooms have nothing, others have power-ups, and a few lucky ones have boss monsters. The bosses are kind of the main attraction of the game, which is really a disappointment. There are 3 strategies you're always going to use to beat the bosses. Either hit their projectiles back at them, dodge their projectiles and hit them, or watch them do a stupid little scene and then win. I'm serious. 2 of the bosses, you just go into their rooms and that's it. You win. This spider is just dead, and these skeletons do this weird little dance thing. It's not as weird as the bosses themselves. You fight everything from killer plants, a haunted well, a giant slug, a stone statue, chameleons, but the weirdest enemy in the game is a giant piece of fried shrimp. What is going on? It turns into a couple other fried foods as well. I mean, is this supposed to be some kind of warning to people with high cholesterol? It's almost as bad as Packy and Marlin. I never got to the final boss. After 6 stages of the game, you kind of get worn out doing the same thing. I mean, the boss I died on, and I'd be willing to bet is where most people did, is that damn Grim Reaper. His projectiles home in on you. You can't repel them back with much accuracy, and he has about 1,000,000 hit points. It's so disappointing. The game had the potential to be decent. It had the potential to be great. But it executed things in such a terrible way. They have a level progression system, but then they make you enter random rooms to find stuff, which means you better look in every single room, as if you're not going to do that already. This does not add to the experience, it detracts from it. It slows the game down. In any good game, there's a boss at the end of the level. a boss that is A, related to the level it's in, and B, doesn't use the exact same strategy as every other boss before it. It gives the game a clear endpoint and a clear sense of progression. With this game, the background may change, the music may change, but it's basically the same experience dragging on and on ad nauseum. Oh god, and while we're on that subject, the music in this game is abysmal. Because of the filming, I really can't show you much of it, but if you've ever played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's 10-second music loops that repeat unbelievably... And that's my phone.
Oh, shit.
Well, rest in peace, Monster Party. Such is the way of life. You tried, and you failed.
Yes, it's funny. Let's have a bull come off a dock.
Hey. Yeah, I just finished Monster Party. I know, right? It's such a freaking terrible game.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Pumpkin sleep in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody be a saint. Don't cheat.